Welcome back. I'm Chris Sikora, and I'm going to step you through Creo version 6, and this is exercise 8, where we make a boat with some freeform design features in here. There is a product for, I believe it's ISDX, and basically it's an advanced surfacing module. I'm not going to go through that. This is just using the basic Creo technology. Okay, so we're going to use what's called a swept blend for the boat hull. So as you can see here, let me turn off real-time rendering. This is our goal, is to make what looks like a speedboat here. All right, and now it's not it's not hollowed out. There's not a lot of details here, but just we'll go through and see how that's made. So let's begin. First of all, if you want to know where these files are, just go to the vertanu1.com. So V-E-R-T is in Tom, A is in Apple, N is in Nancy, U-X is an X-ray, 1.com, and go to instructional manuals, and you'll find the Creo Parametric 6.0 Basics Manual. And then when you get there, you want to go to page 83. And 83 starts explaining how to go through this. Now I'm going to go ahead and I will use this as far as a reference for the dimensions for each section. And we'll see how that all works. So we're going to use what's called swept blends. All right, now let's begin. Actually, just to show you off this boat, you'll be able to see, here's the swept blend right here. And let me get out of this rendering tool. Now, if I edit the swept blend, this is what our goal is. We're going to make this half of the boat. You can see the segments here, or the sections. Some systems refer to this as a loft somewhat. It's a little different than a typical loft, but it still works very similar. And usually a loft is a series of sections that you create. Okay, and so we'll see how all that works. Let's go to New, Part, and go ahead and name this E8. And hit OK. Now, first of all, we're going to offset a series of planes here that we're going to sketch on for each loft. We'll actually only make one sketch, and we'll just keep copying and pasting it to save some time. So that's another technique we're going to see today. But first of all, select the front plane, and you might want to be able to turn it on so you can see it if you have yours off like I do. Now with that plane selected, here's the front plane. I'm going to click on it. And there's the plane tool right there. You could use the plane tool up top as well, right here. Same thing. It's just the quick launch. The first translation we're going to go with is 6 inches. And make sure it's the arrow's moving forward. If it's not, you can type a -6, but it should be moving forward. Go ahead and hit OK. Now you might notice that it didn't look like it moved at all. And the reason why is, again, because we're going to have to zoom up a little bit later. Right now it's scaled out very far. But now you'll see that datum 1 right here. Go ahead and click on it in the model tree and go back to plane. And the next translation is going to be 8. Hit OK. And see datum 2 now. Go ahead and select that from the model tree and go to the plane tool. And the one after that is just going to be 1 inch. Hit OK. And I'll click anywhere. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually sketch on the front plane, which will be the back of the boat because we're moving forward. So select the front plane from the model tree and just go to Sketch. Now we're going to draw half of that profile. And if you're in the training guide here, we're now on to the bottom of page 83, and we're going to draw this profile. We're going to use the spline tool for those points that you see down below there. So we have a 2-inch vertical line and a 2.5-inch horizontal line. So let's go ahead and draw those in. First of all, go to the line tool and off the origin, click, drag down a short little line, click again in the middle, click. Set that to 2. And yep, for the vertical line. And now since you set that to 2 and you hit enter, remember what we did the first day of class where we set up the F key as the fast key. Go ahead and hit F or just hit refit if you're coming in later. All right, now we don't need to see the planes right now. We can turn them off temporarily, so let's do that. And let's, I'm going to refit this again. Maybe zoom out a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go back to line, and off of this vertex here, the crosshairs, drag out a line across just like that. And unfortunately, I went with equal. It was an automatic relationship. So if you accidentally get the equal, just click on it and hit delete. But if you have the dimension here, a weak dimension, that's good. That dimension needs to be 2.5 inches for the width. Now that we have those, stretch those dimensions out a little bit to make some room, because we're going to add the side of the boat now. So go to the spline tool and get to this vertex on this side, click, and start your way on a journey to the bottom right there, and maybe go about 1/3 of the way. So right about there, click, and now go about 2/3 of the way right here, click, and then finally connect to that vertex at the bottom, click, and middle click 2 times. Now we're going to add some dimensions here to locate those. So go to the dimension tool, and let's locate this one first. Click on that point to the vertical edge right over here on the right, and I move your pointer up here, middle click, and you'll see it will add a vertical and horizontal dimension, and we're looking to make that one 0.5 by 0.125. So this is 0.5 for this the width, and then we'll drag this one over. Middle click 2 times, drag that one over, and that's going to be 1.25. All right. Oh, you know what? That's actually supposed to be 1.5 on both. So let's double click on that, make that 1.5. Now let's get the next one. Go to Smart Dimension, click on this point here to the top line, and then over here, middle click, and this will be 1.25. So since we have that in memory, let's go ahead and do that. Middle click 2 times, drag the weak dimension up here, and let's see what that one needs to be. That that's actually 1.5. Okay, so that's going to be 1.5 as well. And then middle click a couple times, and lay the dimensions out in a nice orderly fashion like here. See how they're stair-stepped. And the reason for that is we're going to copy and paste this, and it's just going to make it easier to know which dimensions to select as we change them, because as we get to the center of our boat, it's going to get bigger. And as we get to the tip, it's going to get smaller, so we're going to have to adjust those dimensions several times here. Now that you have this, go ahead and hit OK. And we could go back to the plane display and then rotate a little bit and zoom out. If you'd like, you could actually go to standard orientation, and so it looks like this. Now, the middle of the boat, we have to move our sketch or make a copy of it there. Rather than resketch it, it's a lot easier to make just a copy. And so here's what you do. Go ahead and click on the sketch 1 that's located right here in the model tree. Don't select individual lines and things like that, because that's all it's going to carry over. We want the whole sketch with the dimensions to carry over. So select it from the model tree first. Now go up to here to model copy. Now you'll notice you could hit Control-C, whatever you want to do. Hit copy, select the new plane right here, and go to paste. Now you're going to get this little message, just hit sketch. Now as you move your pointer, move it down here and you'll see it's locating where you want to drop it. Now the dimensions did carry over, but it didn't lock into the origin. So what we can do, we could theoretically set these to 0. But again, I'm a little uncomfortable with doing it that way. I think that's unnecessary. Instead, go to coincident and add constraints. So this top line to this line right here. This vertical line to the crosshair vertical line. And hit OK. All right, now I actually meant I didn't want you to hit OK. That's my mistake. But let's go back to standard view orientation just to make sure. Now you can see that that profile is there. Let's click on it. You can actually double click on it and the dimensions will appear. Now we could make changes to it. Now remember, it gets larger at this midsection. Now if you're not able to see these dimensions, that's okay. Just click on it and then go to the gold ball with a pencil on it to edit the sketch, and it'll bring you normal too, and you could change these dimensions the same way we're about to change them. It's going to be a little different here than it is in that environment, but if you could do it this way, this is really nice. Okay, so we have 2.5. Let's look at the next set of dimensions here. The next set, okay, it's going to be 3, 2, and 0.75. So let's go from the largest to the smallest since it's expanding. So 2.5, double click, that will be 3 and hit enter. You'll see it will expand outward. Now, the 1.5, change this one, double click. Oops. Okay, middle click 2 times before you do that. Actually, a couple times. Now, you know what it wants us to regenerate. So let's go to model here, regenerate. Okay, that method doesn't work so hot as far as I'm concerned. If you get used to it, it's fine, but just so there's no confusion, let's click on that geometry and go to the gold ball with the pencil. Now we can see the dimensions, and it's going to be easier to change them here. So this 1.5, double click, it'll be 2, and that last one is 0.75. So the 0.5 will be 0.75. Now move these over because they will realign. And we want to start with the largest ones on that too. So the 2 will be 2.375. 2.375. This will be 1.75. And the 2, this will be 1.375. All right. Just hit enter on those. And you could hit the OK button now. Rotate it a little bit or go back to the standard orientation. Now we want to get onto this next one. So if you click here, it forgot our geometry we wanted to carry over. So that's okay. Let's select sketch 1 again because it's going to start getting smaller. And go to copy, select this plane right here. And now go to paste. Hit sketch. It's going to go normal too. Drag that down here and click. And now we'll do the same thing as before. Go with coincident for the constraint. Top line to this line here. Vertical line to the vertical center there. Zoom out and don't hit OK this time. That was my mistake. My apologies. All right, now I'm going to middle click a couple times. Now this one's going to get smaller. So we want to actually start from the small dimensions, change those first, and work our way out to the larger dimensions. And the reason for that logic is so it doesn't tie into a knot, because sometimes something might go overlap the other one. And I've seen students get confused, so I don't want that to happen to you, especially since you're online. Okay, so this 1.25, double click, that's going to be 0.2. This vertical 1.5 is going to be 0.375. And the 2-inch is going to be 0.6. Now, straighten these ones out before you start changing them, because this is where it gets confusing. Okay, make sure they stair step from smallest to largest. Now, this one, the 0.5, double click, is going to be 0.2. The 1.5 is going to be 0.5. And finally, the 2.5 is going to be 0.675. And straighten these out and put them in an orderly fashion, because we're going to reuse this sketch. All right, so now that we have that, hit OK and go back to standard orientation. Select that sketch 3, go to copy, and now select the very front plane and go to paste. Hit sketch. And now just bring this down here and click. Now, some of you are saying, hey, aren't we getting to the tip of the boat? Yes, we are. With the sweep that we're going to create, it does not like just a point to come to, or at least it didn't. I haven't checked it recently, and I'm not about to try it right now. But if any of you want to try it, give it a try if you go with the point. I know other CAD systems do it that way. This is where Creo is a little different. It hasn't worked in the past. Not sure if it's going to work in the future, but they keep enhancing it, and they add a lot of new technology. So maybe one of these days they will have that. But that's okay. We're just going to make a very small little triangle profile. First of all, you could click on this line and delete it. We're going to put our own in just a little bit. And I'll go to coincident, select this line to that, and then this line to that. And let's make those smaller. So this one is going to get really tiny. It's they're going to be 0.01 for each of those dimensions. So here, middle click, 0.01 and 0.01. And let's zoom up there. Just scroll with your pointer over that region. Now let's go back to spline. We're not even going to dimension these. So click, again, go about 1/3 of the way here, go 2/3, and then close it. Make sure you get to that end point. And you could just leave it almost like a straight like this. That's fine. Now, some might ask, like, why don't you put analytical geometry, like a line there? I've seen strange things happen when you go from a spline and then transition to analytical geometry, either arcs or lines. It starts to possibly have some issues. Might not in this one. I haven't tried it in years, but I wouldn't bother. There's no need to. Stick with splines. Also note, if you ever are doing analytical geometry or even sketch splines, if there's multiple segments, keep the segments equal for each lofted section. So just be aware, like if there's like 3 segments, make sure it's 3 segments for every profile. All right, hit OK. And now let's go back to standard orientation. Select this side plane, start a sketch, and I'll take the line tool, and from this vertex here, let's zoom up here and get to the top of this vertex here, middle click. All right, hit the green check. We're going to need that for our swept blend. So we're ready now. Let's go to the standard orientation. And we could actually turn off the planes. Go to plane display and uncheck that. Now we can see these a little bit clearer. Let's go with swept blend and select this. Oh, actually go to references first. For trajectories, click in here and select that line that we just drew, the trajectory. Wherever the trajectory ends is where the whole sweep is going to end, or the swept blend. So like, let's say it ended here, it's not going to go any even further, even if there are additional sections. So just be aware. Okay, now go to sections and select selected sections. Click in this box, and it does make a difference where you select on the geometry. Try and find the same segment corners and per each view. Otherwise, you get this. I'll actually show you what happens if you don't do it. So I selected that upper left quadrant there. Now, what happens if I select this right quadrant? Oops, I'm sorry. Go back and select that one. What you have to do, once you select the segment, you have to hit Insert over here on the left. Now, I'm going to go ahead and select this. And it didn't do it, but typically what happens is that if the segments don't match, you get this twist like that sometimes. And it's easy to fix. You just grab the ball and drag it over, and it will straighten itself out. Okay, let's get the next segment. So we have to hit Insert again and select this segment in that corner. And zoom up really close. Don't forget to hit Insert and select this segment. And as long as it's not twisting, you should be in good shape. Hit OK. All right, now what we're going to do is mirror that over. So to mirror it, just select the swept blend, go to Mirror, and select the side face. Now, if the side face doesn't work, right now, if it doesn't mirror this over, that's an indicator that you have to go back to each one of those sketches, and I bet you one of them didn't align coincident vertically. So it's not smooth, it's not flat. And you can't mirror using a mirror plane. The mirror plane has to be flat. So that's typically what happens. I usually get one student in each class that does it by accident. And then you just have to go into these, see these sketches? You go in and you edit them. Or you could actually look at them from the front view orientation. Like here's probably the best way. You go to front. And then you zoom up really close like this. And see this thin blue line? You'll usually see a double blue line. You find that blue line, which sketch it's on, and edit that sketch and fix it. Just have to move it over. to align with the others. Use a coincident relationship or set it to 0 for that dimension. Okay, but anyhow, we've got that done. We could hide these, so hold Control and select these. Oops, oh, right now, let me hit the OK button first. My apologies there. Now you could Shift, select the top and the bottom, go to the eye right here for hide, and there it is. Now, notice this boat's a little shorter than the other boat I had up here. And I want to show you basically how you could extend it. So I'm going to make this cigarette boat, and I'm not going to go into all the details for it. This is where I want you to have a little fun with it. Enjoy making it. Now, those of you who might want to make a sailboat, I believe if you watch my Creo 4.0 E8 video, I show how to make a sailboat, a very basic sailboat, you know. So just be aware, this one's a cigarette boat, speedboat, whatever you want to call it. But we're not going to put in all the details. That's for you to have some fun with. I'm just going to show you how to get the basic design down. So let's see here. Okay, so to extend this, what you do is you find like datum 1. Actually, I'm going to bring those datums up. I want to see them. There it is. I'm going to double click, and we can see it was 6 inches. Now, if I wanted to, I could grab this and extend it, or just double click on the geometry. And let's make it a bit longer. Type in 8 and hit enter, and look at that. It stretches it out. Now go to model and hit regenerate. And there's the change. So you could even make it longer if you like by changing those lofted section distances. Now that we have that, I'm going to turn off the planes here again. I want to make the cabin area. So I'm going to select this face. I'm going to go to extrude. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw a center line, a horizontal center line, right through the center there. And now I'm going to go to the, let's use center and ends. Click and drag this out, and right about, let's see, the cabin's going to be set back a little bit. So right about there, click and drag it across, like so. All right, now if you want these to be symmetric, you could go with symmetric and select this point. Hold Control, select that point and the vertical center line. Oh, it was already undo. Never mind. Okay. Well, I don't know if it was already, but it seems to be okay there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the tangent end, not tangent end, that's 3-point. Click on this, drag it across where you want this to end, and then we'll have that bow out just a little bit. Now I'm going to select that, go to mirror, and mirror it across this center line. And then I'm going to use that same arc tool again for the engine compartment and have that bow out a little bit like that. Okay, now we could put in sketch fillets for these corners, or we could put them in later on. If you put them into sketch fillets, note when you add draft, because we're going to have draft in angles. When you put in a sketch fillet, it's going to get smaller as it gets to the top. And if you want that style, you can do that. I'm going to put them in later so they're more consistent and they stay constant throughout after you've extruded it. So I'm going to hit OK here. And I know this looks goofy right now, but drag that down maybe about an inch. And now we could go to options, turn on add taper. Now, rather than type in a value, watch this, grab this ball and drag it left and right, and you could put in a taper. However you want. I'm going with maybe 38 degrees. There we go, 37, 38. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now I'm going to chisel away at that. Let me go back to a shaded with edges so you can see this. Now I'm going to select the right plane and go to extrude. And we'll separate the two compartments. So I'm going to go to the line tool, and right about here, I'm going to drag this down. And then a slight angle there. And then you could actually just close it, draw it like that. Now you could use a surface and trim it, but this is just nice to get a close contour. Hit OK, remove material, mid-plane, and just drag these out all the way until they extend past that area. Now hit the green check. Okay, now is when you could go ahead and you could put in the rounds. So go to the rounds tool. Oops, I'm going to control to deselect that face. I clicked on this edge and I'm going to drag out one of the yellow balls there. Get that one there. Okay, hit OK. And now to make the cabin area, I'm going to select this face here and go to extrude. And I want to capture this profile. So for that, we could use offset, loop, and select this face. Okay, so I have loop selected. I'm going to select this face. And I see the arrows pointing outward. So that would, and I want it to point in actually. So I'm just going to type in a minus number, so minus, and we'll go with 0.06. And let's see how thick that makes it. Hit the green check. It's a little on the thin side, so that's an easy fix. Just hit close here. Find the dimension. This is the dimension that controls it. Double click on it. Let's make that 0.125. And actually, since let's type in the negative number there, so minus 0.25. Let's see if we can bring it in. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And it's going to start cutting automatically. Now I want it to go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to select the options and blind. I don't want it to go through the boat, so I'm going to drag this up until we see that it's not going to cut through. That's a little deep. I can go a little more shallow. There we go. And hit OK. All right, now to get this design on here, I'm going to select this face. I'm going to go to extrude. And I'm going to offset more faces. I'm going to go offset, loop, select this face. And the preview. There we go. I just hit next until I saw the outside. I'm going to accept that. We'll go with minus 0.125. And went the way I wasn't expecting, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and put in 0.125. All right, this one isn't cooperating like I had hoped, so I'm going to delete that. Here's another way. We'll go to offset, and we'll just do single. So click on this edge, and we see now we could just get that one edge. We'll put in minus 0.125. There we go. And then we'll do another one, this edge. And that's pointing in the right direction. And actually, you know, I'm going to go 0.25. And then this one I should be able to just change. So 0.25. There we go. All right, now let's tackle this one. Let's go to offset, select this edge, and we'll just go 0.125 and enter. Now we're going to trim some of this up. So go to delete segment and scribble through. Don't leave these little segments here. If there's any little segments, you won't be able to extrude it. Okay, now with these, to extend these, let's go to corner, select over here on the left, and then select this, and it will trim up. Do the same over here. Select over here on the left to this, and then that trims it up. Hit OK. Let's eyeball this. Let's see, maybe 0.2. That's a little high. Let's go 0.125. And now options, add taper. Grab this little arrow, put in a nice aerodynamic taper, hit OK. And now we'll go ahead and add the design on here. So select this face, go to sketch. You can draw, if you want it to be symmetric, draw your center line. And I'm going to use the spline tool right off of here, have it follow the edge, and then it's going to go in and then connect to that point. Middle click. Let's do another one, a little thicker this time. try and get the same amount of points. Click right there, middle click. All right, now I'm just going to connect these with a line just to save time. And same with this one. Now, if you really wanted to connect them with an arc, again, I'm just trying to get this done, or connect them with the edge. Now I'm going to extrude that. Could mirror it in the sketch or as a feature later. Either one's fine. And in this case, 0.06. Hit OK. While that's selected, we go to mirror, select the right plane. There it is. Now, any additional features here, it's just rounds and it's just tinkering, trying to get in the geometry that you think looks best. Put a lot of padding in here. All right. And then we could put in some additional fillets here and here. And if you want, put them in here and here too. Okay, and the rest I'm going to let you build, but basically, as you can see there, that's the technique. And then when you want to render it, you know, make sure you go to perspective view, and adding little details is really going to dress it up quite a bit. As you can see here, I've added a lot of little details, like some little inlets for the engine, horn, all sorts of different things. Okay, and that, let's take a look here if there's anything else as far as making your boat. Oh, there is actually a drawing here for your lab. Okay, instructions, model the part and recreate the drawing. Let's zoom out of here. And let's rotate that counterclockwise. Okay, so this is a really easy one. This is so you have time to work on your boat and have a little fun with it, dress it up a bit. And by the way, the better you make that boat look, that's a great portfolio piece. And you're going to learn a tremendous amount just having fun with it and trying to build stuff on it. Okay, so anyhow, this is just a simple part. It's in metric pairs, or no, maybe not. Maybe it's just inches. Okay, so we're 10 by 15 with a little notch. And then you just recreate the drawing. On this one, actually, I would like you to do it on your own. I'd like you to do all your labs on your own if you can, but I'll get you started here. So we'll go with this. This is L8B, hit OK. All right, let's select the front plane, go to extrude, and go to rectangle. Now, if that is metric, here's how you would change it, actually. Let's go to the manage. Hold on a second. Let me get out of the sketch here. Okay, prepare, model properties. And let's say that is metric. I can't remember. It's been a while since I did that one. I think actually it is metric. So under units here, hit change. And we're going to go with millimeter, kilogram, and second. Oops. Now, when you do this, this is what's really nice about Creo. It gives you two options. So you can either convert the dimensions. 1 inch becomes 25.4 millimeters. That's the metric equivalent. And this gives you this option anytime, so this is really nice. Or interpret the dimensions, so 1 inch becomes 1 millimeter. Again, I love that they do this. It's really nice. We're going to go with the very first one. It doesn't really matter in this case because of the situation. So let's go ahead and close there. Okay, now let's go to front and let's go to extrude again. And we'll draw in we'll just do a corner rectangle here. Okay, and take a look at that print. I'm just going to drag it over here. So 10 by 15. and we could hit refit. Oh, I got it reversed. 15 wide by 10 in height. Okay, now there's a chamfer, and you can add that as a sketch chamfer if you want. So we could do this. We could go to the line tool, and we could draw that in. Or you know what? Why might I just use the chamfer tool? So from here to here. Okay. Now here's the interesting thing: is that I have this dimension, this corner to the bottom edge, so it's not a typical chamfer. I mean, it is a chamfer essentially, but for some reason decided to do it that way. So what you could do is just dimension this to override that dimension. Go 6 inches. And now it's like this to this, and right in this window here, middle click, and that's going to be 51. And then let's fix this one. And we'll lock it. All right, lay the dimensions out how you would like to see them for the print. Now we're just gonna, we could put the hole in too at this point in time. So let's go with that. Go to the circle and draw that in. And that one needs to be 3 millimeters. And then this is offset. This one we don't need, actually. This one we do. And that's going to be 3. Now, the way I have it dimensioned is from center point to bottom edge. So leave that weak dimension there to override it, to put it 7. And then again, lay the dimensions out so they look nice. It's going to save you some time later. Hit OK. And the extrusion depth, since it's really a symmetric part, at least from side to side, I like to go usually mid-plane, and then it's 5 millimeters. Hit OK. All right, we're going to go to New, Drawing, and we can use the drawing name. Let's go ahead and hit OK. We're going to go with empty with format, browse, select the A format, hit open, and OK. General view, hit OK. We're going to drop in the isometric. We'll leave it shaded. And the scale on this one, we could actually change it. Let's make it 2.5. Let's make it a little bit bigger. We don't need that on this drawing, but if your company wants you to make those, put that in, then definitely do it. All right, now we'll drop in another general view right here. Click. We'll go to front. And now we'll change the scale down at the bottom versus here. We want everything to update with the exception of the isometric view. So go to view state, view display. We do actually have hidden lines on this one. So let's turn it on hidden lines. Kind of throwing a loop even for myself here. Tangent edges, just go with default. There's really none. Okay, hit apply. Okay, let's go down here. Change the scale. Oh, the scale is 2, so let's actually change it to 4. Make it a little bigger. All right, now let's unfold the projected view. Go to projected. Click up there. Click on this one. Projected view to the right, and Control select both of those. Go to the properties, and these are actually supposed to be hidden. Hit OK. All right, now we need to add those dimensions. So if you remember, we could go to Annotate and Show Model Items, select this face. Beautiful, they appear as we'd hoped. We could turn them all on. Let's see about this one. Yep. Turn that all on, hit apply. It shows here on the bottom one, but that's okay. All right, and then the center mark. So go over here, show that one, click over here, show that one, and click over here, show that one. Hit apply, and then close it out. Now let's just move it, and remember to move it, you have to go to Layout and turn off lock view movement. Then you could click and drag this over, make more room, and make any modifications to the dimensions, put them where you think they're going to look best. And you can also grab the ball there to help you take them off the edges. And I should have actually probably just left this to the regular scale, so I'm going to use default. And then just put your name. Go to annotate, note, all right, and that completes this. If you want to print it out, by the way, or save it as a PDF, remember file, save as, quick export PDF. And this will print out on most printers. The printing inside Creo, I haven't used it lately. I just always output a PDF. So it just seems to work better, more reliable on most printers. Okay, and that concludes this exercise.